Okay, so in a bit we will start. That's for the introduction of. We also have here our Hagna Mayor Joseph Asatoso Maniola. So for our media people, we have here from the National, no? From the TV5, we have from GMA News, from ABS-CBN, from RMN, and from SMNI. From Bohol, we also have here from the Bohol Chronicle newspaper, from the Bohol Tribune newspaper, from the Bohol News Today, from the Bohol Balita Daily News. We also have here from the Bohol Sunday News. We have from the Bohol Times newspaper. And we also have here from DYRD Radio, DYTR Radio. We have here 911 FM and 92.7 BFM. And from Inquirer also. So para mag-guided lang tayo, yung questioning natin, unahin muna natin, one from the national media, tapos one local media, national, local. Okay? Para in order tayo. Once again, a round of applause for our guests today. Welcome to the press conference of the team ni Senator Ping and Senator Soto. Okay. First question from Mian Los Baños from TV5.
Sir, hi ma'am. What's your expectations about Bohol support? I mean, sabi niyo kanina, Senping, it's a pleasant surprise. Sobrang daming sumalubong sa isang territorio. But we know that Governor Yap is PDP and Vice Gov is NUP. Both are endorsing BBM Sara. So what are your expectations in terms of support?
Yan lagi yung... That's a common experience, ano? Okay ba? Common experience namin, maski may mga leaders, mga local leaders, may mga in-endorse na ibang candidates, ibang tandems. Pero pagdating sa ground, sa mga tao, iba yung na-experience namin because after all, isang boto lang naman yung governor, isang boto lang yung mayor, at talagang boto nang gagaling sa ground. So kanina, honestly, I wasn't expecting it, na ganun yung kawan. And siguro naman, hindi choreograph kasi mukhang spontaneous naman yung pagsalubong sa amin kanina, sa aming ata. So yun, and knowing Bohol, at least the leadership, talaga meron silang endorse. At saka strong leadership, kasi rivalry yan eh. Congressman Chato, Governor Yap, and Vice Governor Relampagos. Talagang halos sila naman yung ruling party dito. And to witness the provincial capital employees receiving us so warmly, talagang sabi ko, pleasant surprise.
SP?
Yes, we were very happy with the way we were received by the employees of the Capitol. The same way that the people of Bohol have been receiving us. It's been like this before. As far as my experience is concerned, talagang malapit tayo dito sa Bohol. So, yung mga endorsement ng mga government officials, siyempre always welcome yan. Pero kuminsan I'll have to be very blunt. Kuminsan merong under the breath na endorsement At meron pang media endorsement. Sanay na ako dyan. After 7 national elections that I have participated in directly, alam ko na kung yung under the breath na endorsement.
May I know your election history here, Senator Ping and Senator Soto? Have you always won here in Bohol?
I think so. Ako, in my case, if I remember it correctly, hindi man ako, laging nananalo naman ako dito, at least sa senatorial, tatlong senatorial runs ko.
Likewise. Very strong and very good showing always.
Last 2 questions for me. Sir, about pa rin endorsement, sabi po ni Pangulong Duterte, he will not endorse anyone except his daughter, Mayor Sara Duterte. Senator Ping, does that give you some hope na at least wala siyang nasabing pangalan for presidential?
Well, endorsement, lalo sa Pangulo, in terms of, sabihin natin in terms of resources, government resources. When I say resources, hindi yung pera, yung resources in terms of local government officials, even members of Congress, yun ang resources na hindi tangible, pero napaka-importante kung Pangulo yung mag-endorse. So, but then, he has already mentioned it time and again, consistent naman siya, except in the case of the daughter, Inday Sara, which is expected and understandable. Kasi may kasabihin tayo, blood is thicker than water. So, yun. Kami naman, we don't actually rely on endorsements. Maski sa mga local officials, hindi kami masyadong, well, pag tumating, thank you very much, well and good, pero kung wala, double time tayo sa ground.
SP, tinamaan ba yung pangampanya niyo knowing that?
Except that it came kind of late. It was obvious.
And hindi tinamaan yung inyong chances of winning, you think that President Duterte is endorsing Mayor Sara?
You know, to be very, to be very frank about this. Whether endorsement o hindi ng kahit sinong local government official or national government official, full boys naman to the endorsement of the people. Ganun pa rin yun eh. Kasi may mga based on baseline surveys na nakikita ko, merong endorsement na hindi maganda. Merong endorsement na fatal. Ask ang Kahuna. Merong mga endorsement na nakakabawas. Merong endorsement na nakakabagdag. So, you know, works both ways.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
I'm sorry, I was not able to propound it. One question, one follow-up lang muna tayo. If there are still time, pwede balik kung meron pa mga katanungan. Next, Ma'am Ardy Araneta from the Bohol Region District.
I don't know if getting closer to you will matter. First of all, I'd like to say good afternoon to my favorite mayor, Mayor Joseph Ranyola. I'm sure our people would like to give him an applause. Can we give him an applause? This particular mayor, before I ask my question, has been working strongly for your candidacy. Secondly, I'd like to say, I'd like to welcome you here to Bohol. I am a very fortunate media person being here today. Usually Bohol media, local media, but I don't like to call ourselves local media, but Bohol media is sometimes brushed off in the corner in favor of national media. I was even wondering why Thompson did not call us first. I would say I am fortunate because Senator Sotto, I was that particular lady 2 months ago who interviewed you on air here. And I was very convinced of what you said. But I'd like to declare in front of this august body right now that I am voting for you as my vice president. Senator LACSON, I will tell you my preference later on. Senator Sotto, your daughter was our student at Assumption College before. Okay. My question is, premised on what I said at the start, that sometimes our Bohol media is brushed off because recently somebody's taking a photo. Thank you. Another presidential came over, and we were not even given a chance to ask you questions. There was another time, allow me to expound on this particular experience. There was another time when there was a press conference, and the conference was more or less the dominating people were the national media. My question is addressed to both of you, Senator Lacson and Senator Soto, and maybe also to Secretary Piñol and Dr. Padilla. What program do you have for local media once you will sit in office? Thank you.
First of all, I have perhaps done a good part already for national and local media. I amended the law of my grandfather, the Soto Law, you recall, Republic Act 53. Republic Act 53 was enacted in 1946, and it was the press freedom law. My grandfather was a journalist, I'm sure you know. The press freedom law covered only print media, because in 1946 there was no television, no radio, except the Voice of America radio during that time. So the law covered only print media. And I was too late to discover that it was only a few years ago that I remembered, because it's Republic Act 53. Can you imagine? The latest one is Republic Act 11 something. 11,000 plus. So we enacted, then I authored an amendment to the Soto Law, the press freedom law. It included broadcast media, radio, television, and legitimate internet or social media. It's now covered, and the president has signed it already. It's now a law. So I was ahead of my contribution for the media themselves. But then again, perhaps if you're looking at the future and the incumbency of Senator Lacson and Senator Soto, if ever God permits it, and with your help, protection, security of tenure and protection would be, I think, a priority for the media, national and local media.
Thank you. Thank you. Before Senator Lacson will answer that question, I am very familiar with you. And if there is somebody who really requested me also to vote for you, that is my sister-in-law, who is a Soto, the sister of Suga Soto Yovienko.
So, my aunt.
Yes. Yes, Senator Lacson.
Not only para sa local media, but for the media in general. I will support any move and even spearhead a move to decriminalize libel. This is a perennial problem. Sabi kasi, but ito yung catch, i-decriminalize natin, that will put in more restrictions, more teeth doon sa civil liabilities ng media. Because after all, you should be responsible enough with what you are writing, or broadcasting. So alisin natin yung criminal aspect, pero dagdagan natin yung civil liabilities. Meaning, pwede kayo pagmultahin ng hanggang 100 million pesos. Joke lang yun. Yung pag-spearhead o pag-support ng move to decriminalize, it's about time. Because, alam mo, in this day and age of modern information technology, wala na dapat yung mga lagi meron nakahang na sword of Damocles, so to speak, over the heads of our media people. So, yun.
Thank you that you also feel, before Secretary Piñol will answer, a rejoinder, thank you, Senator Lacson, that you also feel our feelings right now. There seems to be the sword of Damocles over our heads, trying to watch whether we fall or rise again. Thank you. I think Secretary Piñol would like to say something. I'm sorry, the moderator is Mr.
Pwede. Same question. Ma'am, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
You have to understand that I'm a journalist. Actually,
I know. I am
I'm
very
a
glad.
lifelong member of the National Press Club.
Oh, NPC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alam niyo naman, dinaanan ko yung buhay ng reporter na sumasabit ka sa jeep para makakover, na maghihirap ng magmasahe para makakover. Rent an apartment so that you'll be able to stay in your station, in your taxi where you're assigned. I have one dream. This does not even require legislation. I have one dream. Kasi nakita ko itong problema ng karamihan ng mga journalists. Walang bahay. I really would like to start an advocacy of establishing what I would call the Press Freedom Village for journalists, not only in Manila but in the provinces. Para meron naman kayong matawag na bahay ninyo. Sapagkat nakita ko ito as a former poor reporter covering the big, nagre-renta ka ng apartment. Talagang mahirap. At saka sometimes, itong kahirapan in financial difficulties actually would leave you open to temptations. Okay? So, siguro if we can come up with housing projects like what I call the Press Freedom Village, which would be available to journalists. Kailangan dito siguro yung coercive power ng isang senator. Panawag yung NSA and then pabigyan ng parang special program. Siguro mabawas-bawasan ng konti pressure sa ating mga journalists and allow them to lead a decent life actually. I'm speaking as a journalist myself and as a former poor reporter who had to hang on to the GPS to be able to cover. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very nice to listen to Secretary Villar. I am associated with a realty company. Maybe you can buy lots from us for the press freedom. And I'm sure the media people here will be very happy listening to that particular promise. Okay? Thank you, Secretary Villar. Dr. Padilla, no, isa pa katanong ako. Isa ka din
Just a quick answer.
Yes, ma'am.
As a doctor, as a physician, I see a lot of journalists who end up in the hospital with no money to pay for hospitalization.
Mm-hmm.
And if your job is dangerous, for example, police beat, war zones, you see them all the time. Or in the course of doing their job, they get into accidents. Often they say, wala kami pera, pambayad. So perhaps we can look into a Magna Carta for journalists, since we're looking to a Magna Carta for BHWs, a Magna Carta for mga construction workers, diba? Siguro Magna Carta for journalists to include accident insurance. Okay? Because we see a lot of them. So we look into that, how we can protect them, their health naman. Their health in the course of doing their duty. Hindi naglalasing, diba? Hindi yun sa out having a nice life, but in the course of doing your job, there must be some way that we can help them should they get into any accident when doing their job. That's one of the things we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. The president of the Bohol Media
Ma'am,
Association.
I fully support that idea.
Thank you.
Dapat doon na integrate medical health insurance,
Thank you.
other benefits,
Thank you.
housing.
Meron naman. Pero hindi pa rin kami umabot ng ganyan na aakyat ng chili at saka habol at saka lakang pabasta. Pero nandito sa amin ngayon ang aming presidente ng Bohol Tri-Media Association. I know he's speaking it out and I know he will never forget what we have promised today. Dr. Padilla, you're not only pretty, you're very good and articulate. Okay. That was my first question here. I'll go now to my second question. Okay, that was your background. My second question to all of you, do you think the endorsement of the President of the Republic of the Philippines matter?
It does.
It does. What percent? In a scale of 1 to 10, I'm sorry.
Particularly from a popular president. Pero kung unpopular president, is of death yun. It depends. But sabi ko kanina, in terms of resources, not necessarily yung resources per se, but the influence that the president has over most local government officials. In this case, si President Duterte, experience namin, whenever we go to earlier sa campaign, pagsimula ng campaign period, experience namin, nagkumitan yung mga ibang local government officials. Naghihintay sila ng signal from the president. Why? Siya yung parang, pero siya yung parang pinikilalang head, yung pinaka, nasa at the helm ng PPP laban. And most of the local, alam mo naman yung turn to pieces sa Pilipinas, di ba? Kung nasaan yung presidente, nandun lahat yung partido. So, na-experience namin, whenever we ask them, meron na ba kayo na-endorse, then hihintay kami ng signal from the president.
Yes,
As I said earlier, it cuts both ways. If you look back at history from the time of President Cory, up to now, the public average is poor. Di ba? The public average is poor.
Dagdagan mo, nakalimutan ko. Meron ka lang ng presidente, pag nag-endorse, talo.
Di ba? Yeah, yes.
Yes, yes.
You're familiar with that.
Very
Except for
familiar.
President Ramos, look back. The public average is poor.
Okay, thank you. The whole media knows the rules. That's why before I go back to my seat, I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is Ardy Araneta Bato. I am 2 years old and I am the managing editor of the Bohol Tribune. And I come to a radio program over DYTR. Thank you. Welcome again.
Thank you, Ma'am Arlene. Next from the Bohol Chronicle, Mr. Chito Visara.
Good afternoon. I'm Chito Visara from the Bohol Chronicle. This question is addressed to both Senator Lacson and Senator Soto. Senator Lacson, you earned the reputation of being the only Philippine senator who did not avail of the Priority Development Fund. I read an article that you are planning to amend portions of the local government code to benefit the barangays share from the PIDAF. Can you elaborate on that, Senator Lacson?
Yes, it's not exactly that. We don't need legislation kasi yung General Appropriations Act is a law in itself. And through the national budget or the General Appropriations Act, we can actually do that. But remember, the national budget emanates from Malacanang. It is called the President's Budget or the National Expenditure Program. The Congress is only there to give authority or authorization to the Executive Department and all government instrumentalities to spend. Yun ang trabaho ng Congress. So when in 2016, as a matter of fact, because we started this advocacy along with Mayor Anyola, na why not increase the allocations or appropriations para sa mga local government units. So nagkataon ng legislation yun, it was a bill. So in effect, it was an amendment of the local government code. But sabi ko nga, maski wala yung amendment na yun, kung kami na executive, we can implement that through the national budget, which is also a law passed by Congress. So yun yung aming break. Budget reform advocacy for village empowerment. I will not claim credit for concocting that acronym. It was through the effort of Mayor Anyola. Siya nakaisip ng break. Parang in-improve ko lang yata, no? In-improve ko lang. Pero ang idea was there from the very start. Kasi year in, year out, ang laki ng unused appropriations. So we deemed it wise at that time. Why don't we just download the resources? And it was aligned doon sa aking advocacy when I was GPMP. Because ako yung nag-start ng 15-85 ratio. Because when I took the position of GPMP, I noticed that 60% ng resources namin sa PNP nasa headquarters, only 40% nasa frontline units. So, pinaaral ko yung sa controller ko, si Congressman Akop Now. May pag-aralan natin kasi it cannot be this way. Because yung magreklamo sa mga presinto, sasabihin ng pulis, wala ho kami panggasolina. So, we end up with a deteriorated peace and order condition. Why? Because victims of crimes will no longer report to the police because na-hold up ka ka sa presinto. So, sabi ko, reverse natin. So, gawin natin, 15% lang yung headquarters at all levels. National, regional, provincial. And the rest, 85%, should go down to the frontline units. And the result was, amazing. Hindi man nag-triple, nag-quadruple. And the police started to perform well. And they became more efficient. At saka wala na yung kasi meron akong no-take policy nun. Na whether, especially from illegal activities. And it became popular na-ingrained na sa isip ng mga pulis ko noon. I don't know when I left kung merong backsliding na nangyari. But at least during my time, the no-take policy coming from the Chief PNP was really implemented to the hill.
Senator,
Both houses of Congress approve the budget, but it does not emanate from them. It emanates from the Executive Department. The Executive Department usually follows their budget for last year. And sila naglalagay basta kung ano yung mga dapat ilagay sa iba't ibang departamento. At yung dating prinsipyo na dapat mag-emanate sa baba ang paggawa ng budget, hindi nangyayari. Yung Barangay Development Council or our Development Councils, baka mga swerte na pag may mga 20% sa pinadala nila pangangailangan ang ilalagay sa budget. So, ang proposal namin, ang proposal ni Senator Lacson na sinusuportahan ko, magaling, anungin mo barangay, anungin mo sa baba, anong kailangan nyo? Yun dapat ang sinasabi. Hindi lang sa Barangay Development Council, kundi sa Municipal Development Council, sa region, sa district, sa regional, sa provincial. Tapos yun ang aakyat doon sa President's budget, yung National Expenditure Program na tinatawag. So, alam sa mawawala yung disconnect. Alam ng national government, bago nila ipadala sa Kongreso, kung ano yung mga pangangailangan sa baba. Yun po ang prinsipyo ng rate. Gano'n ang aming susuportahan. Pag binigyan ng kami ng pagkakataon.
Can I answer to that? As a former governor, actually, former chairman of the Development Authority, etong sharing ng resources, equitable sharing of resources, has been one of our biggest problems actually. In fact, for the last 2 years, ang share ng Mindanao in the national budget is only about 12%. Ang share ng Visayas is even smaller. I think it's 11%. So, talagang suporta ako dun sa proposal ni Senator Ping Lacson na yung binabalik na budget, the unused portion of the budget, should be shared with yung mga LGUs na talagang nangangailangan ng suporta. Because if we depend on our share of the budget probably every year, talagang di halo. And this also emphasizes the need for provincial politicians like me actually to be there in the Senate, to fight for the equitable share of the budget. So yun yung aking pananaw doon sa importance ng isang presidente na nakakaintindi kung anong dapat ang sharing ng budget in relation to rural development. Kasi mas kitaasan mo yung budget ng LGUs following the Mandanas-Garcia ruling, wala pa rin eh. Kasi only, sample, kapag ang isang LGU nakatanggap ng additional 100 million, only 20% of that would be used for EDF, Economic Development Fund. The rest would be for MOE and everything. So kung iniisip mo na yung dagdag na share ng LGU sa IRA based on the Mandanas-Garcia ruling would really boost their productivity, mukhang hindi siguro. Kasi limited din yung portion ng money na yun to be spent for economic development.
Okay, Senator, are you satisfied with how the Supreme Court ruling on the case is being implemented in the budget preparation?
Yes, we cannot ask for more. Kasi sa Supreme Court ruling, at least na-define ano ba yung PDAP. Kasi before, post-enactment bibigyan ng lump sum. Each senator was entitled to 200 million. That's lump sum. Walang specific items na naka-name doon sa kanyang 200 million. And then after the budget has been approved by the President na naging batas na, saka pa lang pipili yung individual legislator kung ano yung mga projects. Yun ang tinamdown talaga ng Supreme Court. Henceforth, walang post-enactment implementation. Walang post-enactment lang pala implementation, di ba? Na nandiyan na yung items. But again, may mga legislators na who manage to go around the ruling of the Supreme Court. That's why, of late, ngayon lang kami nakakita ng isang district merong 15 billion na tinap na rin, sabihin natin kasi although merong items, pero paano lang na ipapadala sa ibang mga districts we heard reports like that, ano, na isang district kasi apaw yung kanyang PIDAP, yung kanyang insertions, dinadala sa mga ibang districts. Well, sabihin natin pang influence or for whatever reason. Lalong lumaki in terms of amendments or insertions, meaning individual insertions. Kasi there are two kinds of insertions. Kami, sa office ko, I only authorize yung tinatawag ng institutional insertions or amendments na kung saan nanggagaling doon sa agencies na kulang doon sa budget yung request. In the case of individual amendments, napaka-whimsical. Basta't kukuha ng budget sa ibang agencies, lilipat sa whatever agency, siya yung nakakaalam kung paano implement. So, I think that should be addressed by the executive department or even by Congress. Hindi pwedeng pinapaikutan mo yung Supreme Court ruling on PIDAP.
This question is directed to Senator Soto. Senator, in 2016, Bohol was considered the 5th province the most affected on drugs. As the former chairman of the Dangerous Drugs Board, what is your assessment of the present drug situation in the Philippines?
They have not implemented their law properly. The Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, of which I am the principal author of, and that law emanated from my being chairman of the Quezon City Anti-Drug Abuse Council, the most pivotal anti-drug abuse councils in the Philippines and Asia. I was declared model council by the WHO because of the program that I infused in Quezon City that time. From 54% of the total drug cases in the National Capital Region, when I left in 1992, it was down to 9%. You know, because I formulated those primary concerns. And I went to the Senate to infuse that and created a law, the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, amending 1972. All right? Incorporated there is the way to handle supply reduction and demand reduction. The current administration concentrated on supply reduction by going after the pushers, and sometimes the high-level drug traffickers. But then again, what happened? Naiwan pa rin, andiyan pa rin. Every day, may mga nahuhuli o may mga bagong smuggling na pumasok. Why? Because there is a demand. The administration did not handle the demand strategy program which was incorporated in the law. Kaya ako sinasabi na the law was not implemented properly or correctly. And that is what we want to do. We will implement it correctly by giving priority also to demand reduction, not only supply reduction. Ito nga nangyayari, nakakalungkot eh. Doon sa supply reduction, ang involved dyan, enforcement and prosecution. Sa prosecution, ang daming drug cases dismissed. In the past administration, maraming drug cases dismissed. Napakaraming drug cases. Bakit? Merong possession, merong trafficking. Again, bakit? Because the drug abuse prevention program is not being handled properly. Yung demand reduction, which is prevention and rehabilitation. Prevention, meaning yung grade 5, grade 6, grade 7 ng mga bata, meron ba dapat drug abuse resistance education program? Pagtungtong niya ng 13 years old, alam na niya masama ang droga, masama sa kinabukasan ko to, masama sa pamilya ko to. I assure you, more than 50% of those who will be attempting will no longer try. So, piniprevent sila. And then, the others, you involve them in sports programs. Yung kabataan natin ang namamatay dyan at natatarget niyan eh. Yung problema yan. At napapabayaan because of the lack of prevention program. Maraming ibang prevention program eh, aside from sports eh. Pati yung mga parents power versus drug abuse program, meron dapat nun. Kompleto dapat yun. And then, for those who are already drug dependents, o addict na, there must be a full-blown rehabilitation program of government. It's also incorporated in my law. At doon din yung types of rehabilitation na hindi lang concentrated on just bringing somebody in a rehabilitation center after 6 months paglabas. Akala mo matino na. O okay na yan. After 2 months, akit na naman. Bakit? The rehabilitation program did not fit him. Dapat pino-profile muna. Ipo-profile mo muna yung person kung ano ang bagay sa kanyang programa. Maraming iba-ibang klase programa. Merong therapeutic program, merong faith-based program, merong multidisciplinary program, meron din yung 12 steps Minnesota model program. Ito mga programang ito, dapat ito meron sa ating mga rehabilitation centers, both accredited and unaccredited rehabilitation centers of the Department of Department of Health. And what does the DOH do? Na sila dapat ang umahandle yan. Nakapaloob din sa batas yan. Inaasikaso yung parmali. Di ba? Oh, yun ang sinasabi ko eh. That's why, given the chance, we will be able to do better as far as the problem of illegal drugs and drug abuse is concerned, not just illegal drugs.
For the information of our visitors, about you were talking about Presscon, the Bohol Chronicle is now facing sedition charges filed by the Governor of Bohol. For the information of our visitors.
Thank you. So, due to time constraint, we have here from the local media, 4 local media, tapos balik tayo sa national. One question is, the President of the Bohol Media Association, Rick Obidencio, from the Bohol News Today newspaper.
Thank you, Good afternoon, Secretary, Senator Soto, Senator LACSON-SOTTO, and to our Mayor Sana. Welcome to Bohol. My question is that, is there anything you can do about to counter the vaccination hesitancy? That here in Bohol we only have vaccinated something like 60+%. So parang naiip pa kami sa 70% na herd immunity, especially to Dr. Padilla. Please, thank you.
Excuse me, may I first ask, what is the cause of the vaccine hesitancy? Is it fear? Is it fake news? Is it...
There is no study, but para sa media, parang the experience of being vaccinated, mayroong resulta dyan. So hanggang ngayon, even yung mga polio sa mga bata, may hesitant rin yung mga parents. Maybe that is one thing, but I'm asking that what can you do if ever you're elected to the Senate, especially to our incoming President, please.
Well, actually, the only way to really counter this is really effective information drive, no? But the problem is, alam mo, there's a group now in the DOH, young people in the DOH, yung kanilang health promotions committee. Headed by a young, magaling siya na doctor, no? Ang nakikita ko lang, ang galing na kanilang social media sa internet, sa social media, but it's not getting to the grassroots. Kulang grassroots. Dapat may comics, dapat mas maraming radio ads, addressing the myths itself. Another thing is using more celebrities to go out to the door, to the bayos talaga, countryside, door to door, no? Hindi lang pwedeng internet mo lang or TV mo lang. Kasi karamihan, marami rin sa mga natatakot are those who are also in the hinterlands, no? Number 3 is maraming matatanda, natatakot lumabas para magpapakuna. So, when we were working with General Galvez, we told him, use the churches. Kasi yung mga simbahan, pag sinabi mo sa mga matatanda, sa simbahan namin gagawin ng makunahan, mas pupunta sila. Kasi sabihin mo sa health center. No, we've studied the behavior. Number 4, you can do you can even do a house-to-house campaign. Number 5, and this is all based on our studies, because I'm part of the vaccine solidarity movement. Number 5, less drama, make the vaccines accessible. Kaya hindi ba ginawa nila pati sa mga Jollibee yata o sa McDonald's, meron na, no? Sa mga pharmacies. So, huwag mo na masyadong gawing dramatic na pagbakuna. Para sa US, you can go to any pharmacy, you can just go in, pwede kang bakunahan. Don't make it such a big deal anymore. Kasi pag masyadong maraming drama, magdadagdag ka sa takot eh. See? So let's change the mindset. But definitely, one of the things I'm going to do if I make it to the Senate is really look into how to we curb fake news. yung fake news about health, dapat mas maraming maybe more teeth para we can control, no? It's difficult, but you have to find a way. Because itong fake news na ito and using vaccines, making, politicizing vaccination, politicizing health, it has been, there's a study that has shown that the more countries that do not politicize health, that do not politicize vaccines, are the most successful as far as health is concerned. Unfortunately, the vaccine was politicized. It was gravely and grossly politicized. And that's what happened to us. We're the only country in the world that did this. Di ba? Walang ibang bansa. Tayo lang. The other countries are giving that vaccine as part of their vaccination program. Tayo lang, basic. No? So, nanuhalo ko na, naging hysterical ang ating reaction. So, naging politika masyado. So, those are just some steps that we can take to address vaccine hesitancy.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
And to Senator... Oh, sure. Sure.
Would you know what the vaccination rate in Secure is?
Secure, wala, sir. It has only 6 towns. Gamera sila, a little over 100,000. 6 towns lang secure. So, lahi ang sitwasyon sa secure, just like a weekend, silingan sa Misamis Oriental.
Isa pa kasi, ang problema sa mga hinterlands, how do the vaccines reach to them also? Kasi marami walang electricity, marami walang doktor, walang healthcare workers. There's also a problem with personnel. So, it's multifactorial yun eh. So, one is fake news, one is fear, the zombie thing, diba? The metallic thing, the mutation, tapos yung devaxia, tapos iba naman personnel, kulang ng personnel to actually deliver the vaccines. So, some naman, in Iloilo when I was there, they were giving incentives. 500 pesos for everybody who got a booster. So everybody, kahit ayaw na magpa-booster na sila kasi 500 pesos. So my point is, pwedeng iba naman, nagpaparaffle, ng baboy, ng beef. There are many ways to skin a cat. So many communities found ways to incentivize people to get vaccinated. New York City was giving $100 for everyone who wanted to have a vaccine. $100. So, and they all went. So my point is, there are ways to counteract this. But the more people have vaccinations, the more people na kilala mo na pabakuna, walang nangyari, mas hindi ka naman natatakot. So it's a snowball effect.
Thank you. To Senator Pingason, is there anything you can say?
I was about to say incentivize, pero sinabi na rin ni Dr. Padilla. First, we cannot penalize. Kasi individual right yan, choice yan eh. We want to make it clear that we cannot penalize those who refuse to be vaccinated. But incentivize, we can do that through giving special privileges or benefits to those who will be vaccinated and even boosted.
Okay, thank you. Next is from DYRB, Bob Galero.
Thank you, Nanda. I have one question for Senator LACSON. This country needs a strong leader to lead the 13 million Filipinos. And my question is, why Senator LACSON should and must be the next 10th President of the Republic of the Philippines?
First, sinabi mo, we need a strong leader. I am a strong leader. When I led the PNP, sumunod yung mga pulis sa akin. Why? Hindi dahil sa tinatakot ko sila. Takot talaga sila sa akin. But I always live by example. Even when I was a small unit commander in the PNP, when I was provincial director in Laguna, talagang I would always live by example. And when I was chief PNP, lalo na, talagang I led by example. That's very important. That's one of the leadership principles that we learn in the military academy and in other in-service trainings. Pag sinabing leadership by example, ito yung you do not preach what you will practice. Impossible na sumunod yung mga subalterns mo if you cannot even practice what you preach. No, so maingat ako dyan sa aspect na yan. Second, meron akong Machiavellian na quote na lagi sinusunod. it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Kaya, mas tanong niyo mga police. Sinabi ko, mag-solid kayo ng sasakyan in 2 weeks or else, solid sa mga sasakyan. Namumulot kami ng mga sasakyan, yung mga recovered car na vehicles na ginagamit nila. Namumulot kami sila ng flyover doon sa tapat ng Pramen. Nung sinabi ko magpalit kayo ng tiyan, nagpalit sila ng tiyan. Why? Una-una, takot nga sila sa akin. Pangalawa, they would see me running around the oval every other day without fail. At 6:30 in the morning, kasama ko yung staff. Ginagawa ko na rin opportunity to visit offices, different offices inside Camp Pramen. But they would see me in jogging suit, jogging around the oval in Camp Pramen. So sino hindi matatakot? Alam nilang I meant business. And when I was now that I'm a senator, you can ask my staff. Hindi ako na-infect sa kanila, sila na-infect sa akin. Kasi sinabi ko, no take. Kaya kami even sa mga franchises, yung applying for legislative franchise, meron akong pro forma letter lagi na if anybody will approach you representing my office, whether he or she is really from my office or not, report to me immediately. I always see to it na dapat ganon. When we help some residents of Batangas, yung sa right of way, and we were able to help them. They were able to collect from the DPWH because I exposed this during my deliberation sa budget sa aking interpellation. And yung iba na kasingil, they would offer my members of my staff some pala. Hindi ko na pala sabihin yung staff ko. They refused. They declined. Sabi nila hindi. Policy ni Senator LACSON, pag tumulong kami, tulong. And yun, lagi ako ganun eh. But I'm a silent worker. Kanina nung tinanong ni yung tungkol sa media, nabanggit niya yung sa insurance, health insurance. Ito, no? Just support to me. Hindi naman sa pagmamayabang. And some members of the Senate media, meron silang personal experience along this line. Pag may nabalitaan ako na merong may sakit, pamilya nila o sila mismo, or may namatay, they need not come to my office or request. Ako na mismo nagpupusa. And in almost, yung kasi sinasabi ko, wala ito, walang ito. Basta ito tulong because I knew or I know that they need help. Walang strings attached. In fact, there's, when I was still Kipembe again, meron akong nabalitaan na malala yung sakit ng media. I won't name names anymore. Nung nabalitaan ko, so pinadala ko ng tulong. Ayaw nang tumanggap. Sabi niya, hindi, pakitulungan na lang na ma-accelerate yung expedite yung loan sa, I think, SSS or any financial institution. Sabi ko, this is nothing, no strings attached. Gusto mo, pagkakuha mo nitong pera, bukas banatan mo ko sa diaryo ninyo, I won't mind. Yeah, this is the true story. Hindi lang kasi ako yung pala, napag-usapan lang natin, kaya ako binanggit ito. Hindi, welcome sa akin. Ibig sabihin, pag tumulong ka, tulong. Kaya hindi ako nagkukulang sa groundwork. Talaga hindi lang ako ma-epal. Salamat.
Thank you. We have here from SMNI.
Good afternoon po, sir. From the Senate News Channel, Gabriel Nabuka po. Ang katanungan ko po, sir, ay sakaling kayo po ay palaring manalo bilang presidente at vice-presidente ng ating bansa, ipagpatuloy niyo po ba ang war against illegal drugs, corruption, and insurgency sa ating bansa?
Unang-una, pag kami sinuwerte yung dalawa, pinagpala kami ng Diyos, napakaswerte ng mga Pilipino sa amin. That's one thing that we can assure you. Kasi hindi sa pag-ano, I'm just being sincere and honest. You know? Wala kami masamang intention. Talagang intention namin dalawa, tumulong. Kasi ito yung last hura namin. Imagine 83 years between the two of us, years in public service, in government service. Pagsama-samahin mo yung sa lahat. Pagpapatuloy, i-enhance namin yung especially fight against corruption. Because that's one, that's giving us, that's one cause kung bakit tayo nagkakaganito, yung corruption. We really have to address that. Pag-iwan tayo. Kami naniniwala ako particularly kasi nasa Bohol tayo. Kanina, nasabi kami ng mural yung sa ni President Garcia. Alam mo story, ano? Kaya alam ko yung presidency is a matter of destiny. You know the story behind the presidency of Carlos P. Garcia. President Magsaysay, noong tatakbong presidente, his choice sa kanyang Vice Presidential candidate, Arsenio Lacson, yung naging mayor ng Manila. Alam mo sabi ni Arsenio Lacson, paano maging presidente? Malakas pa sa kalabaw yung si Monching. O ano nangyari? Yung Vice President Garcia naging presidente, di ba? Kasi nag-crush huwag natin pagkaunan yung pag-crush, pero yun ang tinatawag nating destiny ng isang tao. Whatever advocacy or whatever he is aspiring for, there's always something that could intervene that will make him or her kung saan siya napunta. So yung tanong mo kanina, ipapatuloy? Yes, but in the most proper way. Due process is always at the top of our mind.
When, as I said earlier, when we address the problem or the issue of drugs, it will be holistic, not just enforcement. Maraming maangal na dapat marihab na lang, o ang dami napatay, mga kachinelas yung napatay, nasaan daw yung mga drug lord. Ayaw namin gano'n, sabi na holistic. It will be a complete overhaul from how the war against illegal drugs and drug abuse is going to be undertaken.
Thank you, sir. Last question po, sir. Marami po kasi nag-relate po sa tanong na, sir, na ito, sir. Bakit po ba kayo, sir, na ibalik ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN po? Thank you po.
Yes. Not for anything but to enhance competitiveness or competition. Kasi dati, dalawa yung major networks. Ano? Ngayon, of course, may SMNI, may TV5, may CNN, marami pang iba. No? Pero magbawas ka ng isa, mababawasan yung competition. And, you know, barring any violations, dapat enhance natin yung participation ng mass media in our society. Kasi kayo yung watchdog, di ba? Siguro kung walang media, mas maraming abuses. That's a fact.
Like 1972.
Thank you, sir.
Like 1972. Maraming abuses, mga media. I filed a bill for the franchise of ABS. So obviously I will go.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next from RMN.
May RMN din pala, sorry.
Good afternoon, Mike Kuyabi from RMN DZXL Manila. I'd like to address this question to Senator Lacson, to Senator Sotto, and to former Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol. Because sa inyong pong pag-iikot sa bansa, and even dito po sa Bohol at sa Rondon, ay isa sa matingkad dyan yung dialogue or consultation with the fisher folks, sa mga magsasaka, sa mga drivers. At tayo ay nasa gitna ngayon ng matinding economic crisis that only brought about by the COVID-19. Kundi nandyan din yung gera sa Russia and Ukraine na medyo talagang humihirap yung buhay ng tao. At could you share to us kung ano po ba ang mga hinaing, sentimento at gustong marinig ninyo sa mga local folks kanina, sa mga different tinatawag stakeholders kanina, at how would you help them later on kung kayo po ay humawak na sa renda ng gobyerno?
We start off by saying that this strategy of ours, the campaign strategy of ours, to capture it in one statement, listen to the people. We listen to the people. And in our incumbency, if ever we do get to the executive department, we will always listen to the people. At yun ang nakikita namin eh. At gusto nila, sapagkat sa mga national issues, kahit sa local issues, kung meron kaming kaalaman, nabibigyan namin sa kanila yung possible solutions. At sila din naman, natututo kami sa mga sinasabi nila na alam na hindi namin nakalain na may problema sa ganito, may problema sa ganyan. So malaking bagay. And then, siyempre, ang epekto sa atin nung nagkakaroon ng gera doon, ay nakamit na nga yung Senator Lacson ito, and perhaps he can elaborate. Isa sa mga mas magaling na ang top producers ng wheat sa mundo, Russia, pati Ukraine din eh. So yung gamit nyo, may dami tayo doon kahit pa paano.
One of the most common mga issues na nare-raise in so many words and in so many ways, yung neglect ng national government, especially doon sa malalayong lugar. Parang hindi sila napapansin. Kaya kami lagi namin nilalako yung aming brave advocacy, yung aming budget reform advocacy para mapalapit o makaangat, magkaroon ng opportunity yung mga fourth, third class municipalities especially para makinabang sila sa national budget. And we always manage to educate or enlighten our people na after all, yung nakapaloob sa national budget, yung revenues, galing lahat sa buwis natin yun. And we are all entitled to have a part of the national budget in an equitable manner. Hindi yung bakit nasa national agency lagi naka-ibon yung biyaya. Tulad sinabi ko kanina, yung disconnect between the needs and priorities. Mas alam yan ng national, ng local government officials and the constituents than the national agencies, than the national government. Wala eh, talagang laki ng disconnect and we will correct that para yung gap between the parkland areas and the national, and sabihin natin, tagkaroon kami pero Imperial Manila pa rin ang tawag namin doon. Hindi man lang sila nagkukonsulta sa mga sectors na concern. Eh, yung mga stakeholders, hindi mo man lang tawagan para tanungin anong kailangan mo, eh, you're lost.
I believe that what sets these teams' campaign strategy apart from the other teams is the fact that ito lang yung team na instead of dancing and singing to entertain a huge group of people, we actually listen to the people. And modesty aside, while I know that Senator Ping Lacson and Senator Tito Sotto have already been implementing this, I was one of those who really pushed na itong town hall dialogue ay gagawin namin strategy sa aming campaign. Number one, napapakita namin yung problema. Kanina, for example, yung puso kayo sa mga taga-Bohol, can you imagine na pati yung paghuli ng salang, asanga, yung sa problema ng ng agda, kaya na pag-usapan. Pati yung conflict sa fisheries limits, fishing limits, pag-usapan. Ay, alam ko kung hindi kami nakikinig, hindi namin malalaman yun. Yung mga problema yun. So, para sa akin, itong strategy na ito is really working very well for us. And I believe that if we continue doing this, at saka isa pang napansin nyo, ang kausap namin hindi ordinaryong makikinig sa namin. Leaders ang nakakausap namin. And look, I'm a veteran politician. I was governor for 9 years. More often than not, Mr. President, pag ordinary rally pababa mo dyan, yung software na sinusubo sa'yo, patawag ko solicitation. Solicitation. Hindi solicitation, solicitation. Ang software sinusubo sa'yo, dami. Nagpunta doon para manghingi ng pera. Sa aming sorties, wala kaming nahingit ng ganun. May mga ilang-ilang na kailangan. Kaya kahapon, nasa rumblong kami, may lumapit kay Senator Ping. Sabi niya, bigyan niya na mukhang talagang kailangan. Binigyan. Pero hindi kami nagbibigay ng pera sa mga pupunta sa rallies namin o sa engagements namin ganito. So makikita mo, saka yung conversion. Yung conversion namin sa mga romblong, for example, kahapon, nakikita mo yung reaction ng tao eh. Because you have to understand, I'm a former media man. I'm also a former governor, and I'm used to public engagements like this. At nakikita ko, naobserbahan ko yung reaksyon ng tao kapag naiintindihan yung sinasabi o hindi naiintindihan. Kapag kumamot ng batok yan, hindi nakakaintindi. Kapag kumamot ng kwit yan, hindi na naiintindihan sa sinasabi mo, walang interest. Pero in all of our engagements so far, nakikinig yung tao, at pagkatapos pumapalakpak, and you can really see the glitter in their eyes, indicating that they understood what we were talking about. So yun yung advantage ng grupong ito, and I love the way we're doing it. We may not have the big crowd, we may not have a singer, but well, Everybody's singing a different tune after our engagements. They're happy. It's a happy tune. Thank you.
Thank you. We have here Weller Chen from ABS-CBN.
Good afternoon to Senator Ming. Sir, given your experience as rehabilitation SAR for Yolanda, what will you do as President to speed up reconstruction every time calamity strikes?
Yes, first, kailangan mag-craft talaga ng yung comprehensive rehabilitation plan, rehabilitation and recovery. That's very important because yun ang backbone eh. Without a rehabilitation and recovery plan, mahuhula tayo. Pero kailangan natin ng PDNA. I wonder if yung OCD has already submitted post-disaster needs assessment. It is a must. Whenever a disaster strikes, kailangan talaga within 90 days makapag-submit ng PDNA. In the case of Bohol, sabi kanina ni Vice Governor, 380,000 houses either totally destroyed or partially destroyed. That's huge, that's massive. And it would entail 24 billion pesos in funding. Sa Yolanda, we submitted a CRRT in a record time of 6 months. Ano to? International ito, hindi ako nagsasabing record. Even the United Nations, sabi nila, record time na nakapag-submit yung Pilipinas ng CRRT within 6 months. Ang funding na sinabit namin doon, 67 billion. Kasi ang housing units na nasira yung livestock and everything else, pati infrastructure, napakalaki. By the way, I would just like to clarify, wala akong implementing authority. Kasi ito ginagawang take use ng mga kalaban, yung mga critics ko. Sabi niya, ba't ko raw iniwan? Ayaw ko sumweldo na wala akong ginagawa. In fact, register ako ni President Pinoy, kinausap niya pa ako sa Malacanang. Because I tendered my resignation after we submitted, after he approved the comprehensive rehabilitation and recovery plan. So after that, wala naman ako implementation authority. I submitted my letter of resignation. And he called me in Malacanang. Sabi niya, Ping, paano yung ano mo? Kung tatakbo ka sa 20, because di ba 2013 yun eh. And then we started working in 2014. I resigned in early 2015. So sabi niya, paano yung political career mo 2016? Di ba baka magpaplano ka tumakbo para mawalan ako ng platform. Sabi ko, Mr. President, ako na bahala doon kasi nahiya akong tatanggap ng sweldo nang wala naman akong ginagawa kasi tapos na po yung aking trabaho. Had I been given the authority to implement, I would have stayed even longer than even beyond the filing of the COCs. Tatapusin yung trabaho ko. Ganun ako eh. When I'm given a task, when I'm given a mission, tinatapos ko talaga. Ayun ang attitude ko. So what I can advise is first, post-disaster needs assessment. We have to check kung meron ng sinabit yung OCD. Yung local OCD or the national OCD. Second, yung funding should be accurate and it should be coordinated just like we did in the case of Yolanda. I would call regular meetings with cabinet officials and local mayors, governors along the Yolanda corridor. We called it Yolanda corridor, the 171 cities and municipalities hit by Yolanda. Kasi ang isa pang importante, we can solicit support from the international community. In the case of Yolanda, because yun na yung parang pinakamalaking landfall in history, recorded history. So maraming dumating. In fact, yung karamihan ng budget namin, hindi naman budget in terms of technical support and assistance. It came from JICA, from the Red Crescent sa UAE. Maraming tumulong. And one of the legacy projects that we had, yung capacitating the local government units, we were able to graduate from DAP, the Development Academy of the Philippines, 161 planning officers along the corridor. Kasi iba, hindi marunong gumawa ng plan, yung development plan. So maraming pwedeng gawin. But kailangan accurate may basis. The first basis is the PDNA. Nakalimutan ko ng tanong kay Vice Governor, meron lang tayong post-disaster needs assessment. Kasi it's a must. Para malaman mo kung ano yung gagawin ko. Kasi if you don't know the needs assessment, yung post-disaster needs assessment, saka makakapaka kung ano yung gagawin mo. Kami noon, naglagay pa kami ng, tawag namin doon, empathy. That's electronic monitoring platform. Digital yun eh. Geotagging. Anong ginawa? Natapos namin yun through the help of the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and the USAID. Sila nagpondo nun, not the national government. We spent so much for that. And then, yun yung legacy, meaning, iniwanan na namin sa gobyerno. Dahil it could be expanded, not replicated but expanded on the national level. Imagine, kung ginamit nila yun, lahat ng PPAs may be monitored, can be monitored by the public because it's open to the public. Kasi that's a portal. Papasok ka lang doon, pwede mong ma-monitor anong status ng bawat project. Makikita mo kung paano ginagawa mga bahay, kung paano ginagawa mga kalsada, mga tulay. Unfortunately, dahil siguro ayaw nila maging transparent, nandun, ewan ko kung saan nakalagay. Sayang yung gastos.
Willard, can I add something to that? Alam niyo, ang isang malaking problema natin sa gobyerno, masyadong mabagal yung ating bureaucracy to respond. Palagi na lang reaction rather than preparation. What do I mean by this? Kailan ba inalaw ng gobyerno na gumamit kami ng calamity funds for mitigation? Noon lamang gobernador ako. Before that, hindi mo pwede gamitin yung calamity fund for mitigation. Pwede mo lang gamitin yung calamity fund kapag tinamaan ka na. And this is very wrong. Because the fact is, climate change is real. The typhoons, the storms are getting more violent. So dapat, at this point in time, preparation na dapat nagagawin natin. In fact, ang isang bagay na nirekomenda ko noon, nung pinag-uusapan itong calamity, dapat i-adjust na natin yung ating infrastructure, ng mga architectural design ng ating mga government offices. Kasi every typhoon, namumulo tayo ng lumilipad na yero. We built a monolithic dome in Isabela when I was Agriculture Secretary. Ang original design nun was to be used as a storage facility for binig, no? Para maski typhoon number 5, hindi malilipad. And it proved to be very effective. Kanya lang napakabagal nung adaptation ng ganung design. Dapat ganung design ang gagawin natin for areas na tinatamaan palagi ng bagyo like Siargao, Dinagat, Leyte, Samar. Yung mga government facilities dapat ganun na. Number 2, dapat ganun na rin ang preparation, storage, food storage, and water storage. Look at what happened in Bohol. Naubusan sila ng tubig, naubusan ng pagkain. Because walang facility na ganun eh. At saka, siguro dapat nating tutukan yung ating land use law. Dapat natin talagang i-define na yung areas for habitation, areas for agricultural production, and areas for environmental protection. Right now, karamihan ng mga settlements actually nasa low-lying areas. This is wrong. Because if you place your communities in low-lying areas, you're prone to flooding. But since wala tayong clear and defined land use law or land use act, gano'n, maglalagay ng village sa gilid ng ilog, talagang pumumahayan. Ubos yung bahay mo dyan. So, yan yung dapat na baguhin natin mindset. Politiko, climate change is real. We cannot pick up the pieces every time there's a typhoon. We have to prepare for it.
I asked permission from Senator Lacson because I'm sure he's too kind. Actually, we were upset about the arrangement of Yolanda, what you call this, rehabilitation. He was the czar. He was a rehabilitation czar for Yolanda. I think part of the preparedness act that we have to do is if you are the czar, you must have the power to implement. He was not given the power to implement. So I helped in the beginning, and the only reason we were able to do a lot of things fast in the beginning was because the private sector stepped in. And Senator Lacson then said, I need the private sector to step in and work with me. Otherwise, walang mangyayari dito. And the private sector was the initial boost of funds into the Yolanda Luman. Because he was given so much responsibility and monitoring and planning, but to implement, he had to go to the line agencies, which took forever to implement. So if we're going to be serious about climate change resiliency, as Secretary Pinal said, aside from a paradigm shift in structure, which we did, because we adopted Ian and Mercedes, and we built structures which had no roofs, just domes. And they're standing up to this day. I agree, remove sensitive structures from low-lying areas. We have to rethink our paradigms, but if we're going to be serious, the next czar, there must be a group that will not have to be subject to the usual red tape of line agencies when you have to deal with calamities. Parang dapat mabilis, there must be a separate group.
Let me say something. Yung mga cabinet ni Pinoy, takot sa akin yun. Pag nagpatawag meeting, dumarating sila. Coming from a non-portfolio cabinet member, na ang basis lang ng authority sa memorandum order, talaga, dalawa lang yung matigas ang ulo sinubong ko kay Pinoy. Eventually, nag-attend din. Sabi ko, how can I complete my comprehensive rehabilitation plan kung kulang yung cabinet official na nag-attend because walang input? Tukuyin ko na, si Juna Baya. Sabi ko, paano kung isasama yung mga ports, airports and seaports sa aking comprehensive plan kung ayaw mag-attend yung DOTC secretary? So, sabi niya, patawag ka na yung emergency cabinet meeting ulit. And then, inako niya, sabi niya, meron ako information, may dalawa diyang cabinet. The other one is PAHE, DNR. Sabi ko, both are very important, indispensable yung kanilang input. Hindi ko makukompleto yung aking comprehensive plan kung walang cooperation yung dalawa. Because yung mitigation, yung mga earthquake, kung saan yung mga lugar na hindi pwede magtayo ng bahay. Kasi kung earthquake prone, papagawa ka, ligtas nga sa storm surge, tatama naman ng earthquake. So we have to be very meticulous. So I'd like to correct na hindi naman ako nahihirapan sa line agencies. Every time magpatawag ako ng meeting, kompleto sila except the two who eventually attended succeeding subsequent meetings. So,
but can I also qualify? Maybe they attended, but it still have to be subject to the line agency, not separate.
No.
Not the separate.
Wala akong implementing authority.
No, wala implementing authority.
Wala nang talaga sa mandate ko yun. So I will not ask for implementation unless given. Kaya ako nag-design because tapos na approved na yung participation ng private sector. Nag-debate kami ni President Pinoy and the cabinet official present. That was my first cabinet meeting. After I took my oath, that was December 10. A month after yun, na-designate ako . So sabi niya, ikaw, tuloy na tayo. Cabinet meeting na tayo. So sabi niya, rules of the game. Para malaman mo lang. Kasi dito, pagka na-touch na yung sa'yo, yung issue about your department or agency, at hindi ka pumibog, carry. And then when I saw yung Ray, yung assistant for Yolanda, ginawa ng NEDA, napansin ko walang private sector participation. Sabi ko, Mr. President, sinabi nyo kanina, pag hindi ako pumibog dito, carry na. Ibig sabihin, pass na ako. Sabi ko, meron akong comment. Importante ang private sector kasi mabagal kumalaw ang gobyerno. Sabi niya, mahirap yan. Kasi walang accountability. How can we force them na tapusin yung kanilang ginagawa? Private sila. Sabi ko, Mr. President, these are responsible people. Meron silang tinatawag na corporate social responsibility. Lalo na yung mga publicly listed, they will not take the risk of yung reputation nila masisira. They will not abandon their projects. So, back and forth kami, lahat walang kumikibo. This is a side story. No? After the cabinet meeting, kinabangan ako ni Ronald Llamas sa baba. Sabi ko, ba't ba wala kayong kibo lahat kanina? Sabi sa akin, ikaw lang ang una nakipag-debate kay Pinoy sa cabinet meeting. Sabi ko, I have to say my piece because ako yung mag-fail. So at least, nasabi ko, kung di ako pinayagan, meron akong sabihin, hindi huwag niyo ako sisihin. And then, that actually happened. January, tinawag ko yung corporate, lahat private sector. And the response was overwhelming. The big corporations were there. Lahat present. Presscon, Requirason, lahat. Ayala Brothers were there. Lahat. And then, we started working. Kasi alam ko, mabagal ang gobyerno. talaga mabagal ang gobyerno. So, saan ka mag-rely? Yung immediate response, private sector. And they responded very well. Yung mga nauna ng mga naitayo doon, private sector, housing, lahat. Grabe yung response. Because samantala yun, because everybody was enthusiastic, everybody was sympathetic. No, meron naman silang CSR, yung corporate social responsibility, na magagastos nila. So what's wrong with asking help? And then the international community. Magkano sila? Yung Red Crescent, sabi niya, Secretary, meron kaming $10 million dito. Saan namin dadalhin? Kami taga-direct lang. Sabi ko, yung mga hindi napapansin ng national government kasi opposition, doon yung dalhin. So they went to Western Samar and were able to build even submersible, submerged na fish cages. Parang storm, storm-proof. Kasi submerged eh. Hanggang na, pinapakilala ko. It's just, sabi ko, just a side story. Kasi maraming wrong notion that I failed miserably as the Yolanda Rehabilitation puno-puno. Hindi naman sarang tawag ko sarili ko nun. Sa kanakita ng sarang wala namang power.
So enough ba yung EO to cure
It was not even an EO. It was an MO, Memorandum Order. Administrative lang yun eh. Wala talagang power. I just used maybe my reputation because I'm glad, probably, my reputation at the time preceded me. And we worked with my staff, ragtag eh. Ang kinuha ko nung initially, yung aking Senate staff, who were not receiving salaries for 4 months. Kami lahat walang sweldo. Eh, hindi ba namin magbalot ng sweldo sa Malacanang? Ang daming trabaho. And then, naka-squad kami sa isang building. Yung ginagamit kong office ngayon. Kasi, para yan sa akin ni Pinoy kay Bunsabat, hanapan mo ng opisina si Ping sa Malacanang. Yes sir na yes sir. Pangatlong beses na, hanapan mo, sabi ko, walang mangyayari dito. Hanap na lang ako sa kaibigan ko. Sabi ko, wala akong opisina, baka pwede maka-squat. And we were occupying one room in one floor, another room in one floor. Kasi kung anong bakante na walang umuupa, yun ang pinagamit sa amin. But we survived. Yun ang hindi alam ng mga kababayan natin. Iba, mamuna lang na namumuna. Na wala raw akong ginawa. Ito, maglalabas lang akong sentimiento. Ang dami namin nagawa beyond what were expected of us. Because I'm a performer. I don't want to fail. Pag binigyan akong trabaho, gusto ko beyond success ang mangyayari, yung beyond expectation. Ganun ako lagi.
Okay, so time check, 3:06. Before we end, we acknowledge the presence of Tagbilaran City Mayor John Desnel Babaya, together with his wife, First Lady, FL Jania. So, tapos na po yung Presscon natin. Yung Father National. Thank you, thank you.
Naubos, ang haba ng press ko rin. Parang